put on a ship, taken away, boom. And from what I understand, that part of it kind of sucked also for the guys from the U.S. Anyway, meanwhile, my mother was graduated from college in that spring of 1942. So she went to college at a place called Goucher College. Anybody from Baltimore? Anyone? Really? It's back east. It's a city back east. It was when they had such things. It was the sister school to Johns Hopkins when they had sister schools. So the president of Goucher was the first cousin of the Secretary of War. So she apparently asked the Secretary of War, Stimson, do you have any women that can come work on this thing? I can't tell you what it is. So my mom was recruited by the Navy, and she worked on this mythic thing called the Enigma Code, which was a thing where the German banking system had this crazy code machine for encrypting messages between banks, and the German military took it over. The Nazi took it over. Anyway, with all due respect to all the other people in the photo, all the other women in the photo, really, I'm sure they're very nice people. I met 7 of them later on in life, but really, who has the best legs? Just say. Just being objective here. I went to college too. I gave it a lot of thought. All right. So my dad lived through this thing. My mom lived through this thing. And they had no, in prison camp, they had no electricity for almost 4 years, or hardly ever. So my dad became quite the amateur astronomer. He could tell you 50 constellations. And if you talk to most astronomers today, they can't tell you 5 constellations because it's not as important as it once was. It's not as, you know, I mean, everybody's got a GPS on his phone, her phone. You don't need, you know, constellations. But the other thing he became fascinated with was sundials. Apparently with no clocks or watches, the Japanese military confiscated their jewelry and their watches and stuff. My dad, according to the family myth, would tell time with sundials. Where he'd set up a shovel handle or what have you and watch the path of the sun and the shadow. So he lived through this thing. He comes back fascinated with sundials. My father invented the sand dial, which you use on the beach so you don't get sand in your watch. He molded our own bronze family sundial, which my brother still makes use of. It still works. And he wrote a book about sundials, and he was given a lifetime membership in the North American Sundial Society. Geology thing sounds like a crazy party, I know. I'm sure any accounting majors here? Yes, and we know how crazy they are. It's just turned up to 11. Okay. When you're with sundial people, man, it is crazy. It's a bunch of people standing around. It's moving, look. Okay, put a pebble right. Yes, yes, wow. It is, I admit, a little odd. I grew up with this. I could quit if I wanted. I just don't want to, that's all. I was at the beach this summer, and here's some pizza box and some wine corks, and I happened to made it into a sundial. What? It's a big deal. And then in the background, if you're scoring along with us, you can see one of the original sand dials still in service. You have a couple so you can check. Like what? What? Oh, your phone has a clock. Okay, I'm sure that's pretty accurate. So you can ask yourself, is this, you know, a case of SOD? Of sundial obsessive disorder. It's significant because what what happens is you reach a point where kind of everything should be a sundial. Really. Every telephone pole, every fire hydrant, every tree, really, these things should all be sundials. And what happened was, in 1976, we landed a couple of spacecraft on Mars. And by we, the humans. Well, I'm pretty sure. One of my old bosses was involved, but I think even he really was human. There would be certain situations at parties where you weren't sure, but I think even. And so this is a famous picture. Now, what I encourage everybody, if you've never looked at these pictures from the Viking landers, back in the disco era, they give you this thing where Mars is a place, this feeling. I mean, if you were dressed properly, you could go there, you know, walk around. If you go there, you know, it's a camping trip, you guys. You take food, water, and some of you may not take normally on camping trips. You'll take something to breathe. Because they don't have anything there for us to breathe on Mars. You would notice that right away. But this picture is also notorious or famous for other reasons. This picture went all around the world. New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Papua New Zealand. Can you turn that down, guy? Papua New Guinea Gazette, the Oslo Journal, what have you. But apparently, I was at an event 3 years ago at Caltech. It was one of the anniversaries, one of the anniversaries of the Viking missions. And I met these guys, and they kind of told the story again in kind of a different way. Apparently, it was a day and a half where they published this picture, very proud of it, coolest thing ever. The purple line is an artifact, is an electronic thing that happened. But there's another electronic thing that happened. And it's when you look at the shadows. The shadows are a little bit blue. And that's when the people realized the sky's probably not blue. And it went something like, what do you mean the sky's not blue? It's a planet. I know, but dude, it's a different planet. The sky on Mars, to us, would look more like this. And what is that color? That is salmon. Taupe. Ecru. It might be, you might say it's a burnt orange, okay, whatever. It's you know where they sell women's stockings? So it's in the upper right. At Nordstrom. I mean, I don't wear women's stockings. I will say I'm a huge fan. I don't wear it. So, anyway, this problem of getting the colors wrong on Mars was of great significance, and I could not help but hearken to my father, among his many great ideas. Turn the Washington Monument, yes, into a giant sundial. What? So we have these plinths. We have these rocks out there. Does anybody not know the word plinth? Yeah, sure. Everybody at UCLA knows the word plinth. No, it's the rock you put a statue on. That's a plinth. If you play Scrabble, fabulous way. There's only one vowel. The rest is booth. But you do have to keep the T and the H, okay? You get the T. The T's are nothing. Yes. H. Hold on. Then if you're a terrorist or whatever, then you have to drive through the plinths. And it's very cool. If you go there in the spring or the fall, just a few weeks ago, now it's getting a little out of hand. The shadow goes very fast because it's quite tall. You can walk along with the shadow. None of this guy staring at the thing wondering if it's moving at the sundial party. That's one. But as the sun gets lower in the sky,